Hi, this is Pamela Gropey Art, and today we're going to do a fun project that you can do with your kids. It uses basic shapes, easy colors, and it's just something really fun I know you will enjoy doing with your kids. So let's get started. First of all, this is going to be a couple of bunnies, and we're going to use, for the background, some blue. Now it doesn't matter what blue you use. I'm just going to go with a light blue. So I pulled out a couple of colors. Here's light blue, medium blue, and blue lullaby. These are folk art colors, but use any light blue you have. And if you don't have a light blue, use a dark blue and mix it with some white. Now I'm going to go with maybe 2 of these colors, and I'm going to put them on my palette. And I'll add a little bit of white to my palette too. So here's my palette. Now with the kids, if you want to use just any old, like a paper plate or a plastic plate, you can, or any flat surface. I probably will use more than that. So there's that color. That one is blue lullaby, and maybe I'll use medium blue. The medium blue might be a little bit dark at what I want, but we'll just check it and see. No sense in being dull here. We're going to have fun with this. And this is a little titanium white. And I'm going to go for kind of a streaky background for these bunnies to be on. So let's I'm going to use a sponge. You can use a large paintbrush if that's what you have, but I'm just going to show you can use in kitchen items. This one I have torn off some. I have some painting tutorials coming up that I do trees with a wadded up sponge. But okay, so let's get some blue. Now this is a dry sponge, it's not wet. I got some in that. It doesn't matter, it'll create texture. And I'm just going to get some blue on the sponge. I probably will end up getting more. Now make sure your kids have play clothes on or aprons or something, because kids and paint, well, it's just messy. That's all there is to it. So that way you don't have to worry about anything. Have your table covered. I have this covered with just craft paper. And you see how it's creating the nice streaks? Now I didn't have near enough out here on my palette, so I'm going to go ahead and put more out. I ended up not using the white, but I might bring some white in. So you get some more on here, and the medium blue. I'm really liking these 2 blues together. It's making even better of a background than I had anticipated. So here, we're double loading it. And you would do the same with a paintbrush, and just, you want it nice and thick on here. I think I'm going to have to change the battery in my microphone here. But just pull it on there. You want a nice coat there. And if you think it's too dark blue or the medium blue, just go ahead and redo that. Now I'm using gloves so I don't get it all over my hands, but that's totally optional. I think kids like getting it on their hands. But I just want to make sure I have good coverage. I don't mind if it's streaky. I want that. This is going to be a very loose interpretation. Now once we've got it covered to the degree that we want, then let it dry. And I wanted to say too that if you didn't want to use a sponge and want to use a brush, that's one way to keep the hands cleaner than using a sponge. It's sometimes like a larger sponge will go faster than the paintbrush, and just, you have options. So if you don't have large paint brushes, then a sponge will work just fine. So I'm going to go rinse out my sponge and clean that up while I'm letting this dry. This is probably a good time to maybe let your kids have a snack. It shouldn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes for this to dry. And if you wanted to hasten it, just get out a blow dryer or a fan and put it on it and dry it quickly. So I will be right back. Oh, I didn't mention, this is a 12 by 12 canvas, economy canvas. I get these in packages from Michaels, and they're very inexpensive. It works out to maybe $1 a piece or $2 a piece. So it's just a very economical way to have fun with your kids. Now the background is dry, and we're going to put our bunnies on. So here I'm just using a mug to get the circle shape, and you could use the traceable I'm going to have. And they're kind of centered. It looks so high, but maybe it's just my eyeballs. Okay, there's the second little bunny, bottom. And remember, bunnies are not perfectly round, so don't fret if you're not getting everything super round. You see that? Still too big. So using a couple of circle-shaped items, I created the outline of my bunnies. And we're going to go ahead and go in and paint them. First, we're going to undercoat them with kind of maybe a tan and with a little hint of pink in there, just to give them some oomph. So I'm going to get, this is called linen. This is a folk art color, and it's kind of a light tan. And we're going to go in there and we're going to base coat these bunnies and give them a little bit of a background. And this is Cameo Blush. I'll dot that in there every now and then just to give them a little hint of that pink. Now you can use any brown. If you have burnt umber, mix it with white and make a tan, or any brown, and tone it down with a white. And I'm just going with colors that I have to grab here, and then it all works good. So I'm going to use, I could use a scruffy brush, but I know a lot of people may not have these brushes, so I'm going to go in with a flat brush. Right now this is a pretty big surface. This is a 3/4 inch flat, and I have links to these brushes on my website all the time. These are the Plaid One Stroke Donna Dewberry. It comes in a set. I do have a new set on order that I'm going to test out and see how I like them. But a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, I'll be using these for right now. And there's some Royal Majestic. Royal Land Nickel has some called Royal Majestic that I use quite often. Just follow the outline of the bunny with the linen color. Now you might think we would have went in with white, but you're going to see how this just adds a nice undercoat for your bunnies. And we're going to end up putting a little tail on them later, but just follow. Now bunnies are not perfectly round, so if this doesn't stay within the lines, there's no big deal. These could be lopsided bunnies. They could be, one could be fat and one could be skinny. Now we're going to do the little head. Just going to follow in. Like I said, this is the linen color, the light brown. And I'm just trying to be real loose. Put them shapes in there. And you'll see how, as we add the details, our bunnies just start coming together. And we're going to do the same with the ears. We're just going to fill in. I just chalked on some shapes, bunny ear shapes. And I'll just fill that in. Nothing too technical. I'm almost out of linen. I didn't use any of the Cameo blush, but if you want to add a little bit, like add a little on the side. Now a lot of this is going to be covered up because we're going to come in here with some whites, and it's just going to add a little hint of color underneath that white. Maybe the ears, you want to add a little bit more because bunny ears can have pink in them. Now this is totally optional. You can just stick with the linen, make it as easy as possible. So we're going to let this dry. Do again with the blow dryer. And you notice you can still see some of the blue through. That's why we're doing an undercoat. So to get the opacity we want once we're done. So there we go. Now it's at a tacky stage, so we stop because we'll start lifting paint if we do not. I'm going to get my blow dryer, I'm going to quickly dry it, and I'll come back and add some more. Well, you know what we can do while the bunnies are drying? We could add a little bit of foliage underneath and to the sides, like some grass and some stems, because we're going to put in maybe some lavender. Lavender should be pretty easy for kids to paint. It's fairly simple. We'll make it really simple. So I'm going to get some greens out on my palette. And let's see, what have I got here? I've got classic green. And then I'll either have fresh foliage or citrus. I have citrus right here. I use a dark green and a light green, and that kind of gives you different shading. Now you can go into just dark green and add just some stems. Go up maybe a third of the way, and I'm just doing it on the chisel edge of my brush. See, just stand it up, and you can make fat blades of grass, skinny blades. And then you can go and dip some in the lighter green. I just dip some in the lighter green. And then I do some more. You see you get the different striations, and you can just kind of pit-pat down here a green base, like they're sitting on the grass. I'll try not to go over the bunnies yet because we haven't made them put their white coat on yet. So we just kind of stay underneath them. Stay underneath here and continue to add some grass. Now decide what kind of flowers you want. You want some lavender, some lupins. Lavender would be purple. Lupins can be any color. Actually, there's pink lupins. So you just want some of these to be a little lighter. And there we have some greenery. And if you want to go back over it a little bit, add a little light green so it's kind of different colors. And there you have some green. Our bunnies need to dry and our grass needs to dry. So let's continue on with our bunnies. They're mostly dry. There's a little spot there. It's a little damp yet, but we'll start above. Now we're just going to go into white. This is Plaid Folk Art Wicker White, but use what white you have. And we'll just start filling in our bunny ears. You do not have to cover the undercoat or underpainting completely. That tan and pink doesn't matter. It gives it a little bit of shadowing if you've got a little bit showing. Gives it texture. So just have fun painting on white onto your ears without worrying about covering every last bit of the undercoat. And now we'll just go to his head or her head, whichever. And just give up some white. Have fun with it. You could actually pounce the color on if you wanted to give it some texture. And I'll show you what I mean by that. One moment. Get this going here. Just have fun. Okay. I'm going to put aside that. So what I mean by pounce, I have these scruffy brushes. They come in the set with the Donna Dewberry, and I just load it like this. You see it gets in there. This is dry. You want to use a scruffy brush dry. And then you just pounce it on. And you see the stippling effect? It gives that bunny texture. And on a canvas, it's a little bit harder to cover. Not really harder, I would say. It's just more challenging. When I'm painting on wood, there's no give. So, but that's how you can pounce it on, and it gives the like bunny hair texture. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to go back to my paintbrush. So I need more white on my palette. That one's just about empty, so I need to go to this other one. That one's about empty too. I use a lot of white, so get lots of white. Get the big containers of white. Okay, so here we go. Back to my 3/4 inch brush. I rinsed it out, still a little wet, and dried it on a towel. Now I'm double loading it. Oh, not double loading it, sorry. I'm loading it with the white, making sure it's nice and full of paint. And we just fill in our bunny. Just get him in there. Our white little bunnies. Sometimes just doing things like this with the kids is just so relaxing. And it keeps them entertained, and they learned how, like, it's bunnies, just two shapes. Think in shapes when you're painting or drawing things. And you see how that, you can see some of that undercoat showing through and how it gives it texture and dimension. They're not perfect. I'm going to get on my palette a touch of burnt umber. Now what I'm doing here is I still have white in my brush. I'm just going to get a touch of burnt umber, and I'm just going to give them just a little hint in some areas. Give them a little outline, you know, because bunnies are just not always just white. And if you get too much, blend it with the other side of the brush. And you can dabble it in, tap it in. Maybe there's some on this side. Yeah, keep it faint there. I want them touching. You see how it's kind of blending into the other paint? And that's good. You don't want it too stark. Just a bit of a shadow. Give it some interest. This is totally optional. You can just leave them all white with a little bit of the undercoat showing. And this one's kind of overlapping this one, so you want to kind of give it some shadowing so you differentiate their ears. And there you have a little bit of shadowing on it. Give them some little bit of dimension, I guess. Now I want to show you a little bit of a trick. You see how this kind of came out there a little further than I wanted to. I'm just going to get a touch of the medium blue on my brush. And like I said, you don't want to be perfect, but it's just a little hint I want to show you that you can do. So here's the medium blue on my brush. And I'm just going to come in and go over that little spot. And there. And now he has. And that just makes it look like you can see through his ears there. So that's just a little hint. If you make a mistake, you can just go over it. So let's get their tails on. Let's let them dry. So while they're drying, we will not put their tails on. We will get some flowers out here. We're going to do some simple flowers. Now you can do lavender, and the one way you do that is you could do it with a round brush, or even just the corner of the same brush you're using if you want to keep this simple. So let's get some, I'm going to do some purple. This is just called purple. This is flat, poker up. And you can pick whatever color you want. I'm just calling this lavender because I want to. I'm going to do it in purple. And then we can do maybe some pink flowers. All I'm going to do is touch the very tiny corner. See, it's there. And you'll just make little dashes coming down one stem with the corner of that brush. If you want to make them bigger, go ahead. And as you come down, get a little bit bigger. Now remember, this is just a fun painting, so don't get overly concerned with things. If I want to put a little bit lighter color on top, I'm going to mix the purple with some white. I don't have this on and I'm going to get more white because I want it even lighter. So I make a lavender color with the purple and the white, and I have it on the corner of my brush, and I will just go in there and dab. You can dab on top a little bit or between, so it gives it a little more oomph. And there you have your lavender. You can do the same over here. Touch, do little dabs. It's a wide stem, but remember, this is for kids. So get some lavender color, go in there, add that. And also there's some fun things you can use. You can use a cotton swab, and you can just do dots. Make it dotty flowers. And you can change up colors. If you wanted to add some pinks, go right ahead. I'm going to use magenta just to give it some more color. And maybe we'll make some posies. Now, I want to show you something you could do. I'm trying to make this where you can use just a few simple tools. So you could go in and get a filbert brush or a round brush, but you could also use the end of your paintbrush. You see that? Dip it in there and then do a man. Head, two arms, and two legs. And then you come in with, I'll do it white since I have it on my palette, and then white, and you put it in the center. And that makes your little posy. And you can do the same. Head, two arms. You can do them a little bit closer together. Two arms, two legs. Try to keep them even. I wipe off the end, I dip into my white, and then I go into the center. And there you have a little pink flower. So there's how you get your flowers. And if you want to add a little bit more color down here. We can do it. Let's take a smaller flat brush. This also comes in the same set as that 3/4 inch and the scruffy. This is a number 10. And we can just add in some little stroke flowers if we want. Just some little bits of color to make it bright down here. Add some brightness. You can do some purple flowers. And just do the same. The head, 2 arms, 2 legs, and makes a 5-petal flower. And then put a center in. We won't worry about the center right now. Alrighty. So there's some extra color there while we were letting them dry. It looks like they still need some more drying here. And I'll go ahead and put it under the dryer to quick dry it, and then we can put their tails on. Now step back and look at your bunnies. Now I think mine is kind of flat-ended over there. So I'm going to add a little more white and kind of bring his backside over. There. And then this right here kind of made it look like his head and body were disjointed. So kind of cover that up. So let that dry. And now we're going to put in his little tail. Now, the beauty of this is you could stick a cotton ball on there, glue it on there, and that would give him a puffy little tail. Or you can just add some more white right there. Just draw a circle with your brush. Just pivot it around. And you see how you can't see it? That's okay. We're going to touch our brush, just the corner, in some burnt umber. And we're going to make sure we have plenty of white. And since we already have the circle, you may not be able to see the circle as well as I can. I can see the circle. And we're just going to go around. And there is his tail. If it's a little too brown in areas or too perfect, just tap in some white and it kind of obscures some of it. And there you have his tail. This one I could go ahead and do, even though it's still wet. And we'll see what it does as far as, I don't think it'll pick up too much. So I have plenty of white on my brush. Touch into the burnt umber. Make sure it's going to show. And then, I didn't do the tail white part yet, but that's okay. I know what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to pivot around in a circle. And there is his tail. Now he needs a little bit, be wider around here. And just go in and add a little more white in spots if you want. Don't over tweak. We're not into perfection. Let's go ahead. Okay, so there are our bunnies. And now let's do a fun little bee. No, let's do a dragonfly. So I'm going to basically outline him. And some dragonflies are really pretty and blue. So I'm going to go in with cobalt blue. There was a true blue here, but I'm going to use the cobalt blue. We could have used a green, a real iridescent green. Well, that's not coming out, so let's see what else I have for a dark blue. I have true blue. Now, here is the true blue. I have the number 10 flat brush. You can do this with a liner if you prefer. It might be hard for the kids, or they could draw it on with a marker. But I'm just going to put a dot and a little bit smaller dot, and then I'm going to pull a tail. So that's it. I might fix that smaller dot a little bit. Now, this is totally optional, I said again. Bigger dot. Oh, I got too much water in my brush. So I have to dry it out. Fix that dot. And the smaller dot. And then pull them out. Okay, now here comes our wings. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it very thin on the brush. And I'm just going to start way out here on the chisel edge, pull, twist, chisel edge, pull, twist. And then I'm going to do the same here, chisel edge. And have them all meet kind of in the center. I probably should have did that the other direction, meaning I should have had the angular wings, but remember, this is fun for the kids. Try to get that a tip. There we go. They'll know what it is. So fun little dragonfly on our bunny painting. I think that's pretty much it. You can add more flowers as you like. I think I will. I think I'll add a few more lavender. We want the bunnies to have lots of pretty flowers. Add some magenta ones over here. Maybe even have some come up behind the bunnies. Sitting in the grass. I'm just getting the different greens on and just dragging up some grassy things. That kind of sits them down in there. And there you have your pair of bunnies. Wasn't that quick and easy? And the kids will have a good old time with it. And I see one spot that's bugging me. There we go. A little bit of. I know. I just said not to tweak it, but I'm going to. How fun was that? Okay, so there it's all done. I wish you happy painting with your kids. Come on back for my next video. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I know it'll be fun. See our little dragonfly friend where I had put his wings up there? That was incorrect. I wanted to put them this direction, and I don't know why I did that, but so I'm going to fix it. I went over it with the medium blue, and I'll come in and streak in a little bit of the what was it, the Blue Lullaby after that has dried a little bit. But I got my number 10 flat, and I'm just putting a little bit of white in it, just a touch. You notice it's real thin. That way we're going to make gossamer wings, and I'm just going to come down from here and pull up. And same here, pull up. And if you want to erase right there in the center where you get a little bit over the body, or you can wait and touch up over the body. I can pull that up a little bit. So there you have your wings. Got a little bit up there, so I'm getting a cotton swab and just wiping it up. So now I'm going to see if I can go in with the Blue Lullaby. No, that's light blue. Blue Lullaby. And touch up on it a little more. Well, it's much lighter than I thought it was. It's okay. we're just going to streak some in there. If you want to streak in some others, but don't fret on it. It's all part of the painting. You can streak some right there if you want. You can go back in with a little bit more medium blue, whatever. So there, I fixed my poor dragonfly. Now, dragonflies do not have antennae. I don't know if you knew that or not. And if you wanted to, you could give them little bug eyes. Like use a stylus or even the tip of like a pen. Or like, here's a paint. This is a watercolor paint pencil or pen. Now, there's no water in it. But let me see, what dark blue did I use? Was it, I think it was True Blue. Maybe not. But anyways, I'm just going to get some on the tip. I took the lid off. And you just put little Google eyes there. If you want to fix his body where I went over it. These are great. These are great for lettering and little detail work. I'll put a link to it. There. And there we fixed Mr. Dragonfly. That just bugged me. I couldn't leave it. Okay. I hope you had fun. Come back and we'll do another Fun Kids tutorial soon.